6:04, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. Starting your work week off at 52 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Starting Super Bowl week off at 52 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. We got a lot to cover today. I mean, we are all over the map. That being said, let's go ahead and start off, as we do, with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
St. George Mayor Dustin Yates will have a little competition to hang on to the gig. Republican Jim Morgan qualified Friday to challenge Yates for the mayor in the upcoming March election. Morgan is a member of the St. George Fire Protection District Board of Commissioners.
Number 4.
A federal judge Friday barred enforcement of a Louisiana law that requires people to stay at least 25 feet away from police officers as they do their work, saying it's, quote, unconstitutionally void for vagueness. Ruling in the case brought by a variety of media groups, U.S. District Judge John DeGravelle issued a preliminary injunction against the law, saying it was likely that reporters could prove the law violated their rights by preventing them from news-gathering activities.
Number 3.
One person is hurt after a shooting during a party on Brightside Drive near River Road. Baton Rouge Police Department reporting. Officials said around 1:30 a.m. Sunday, a man was dropped off at the hospital with a gunshot wound. Before the shooting, authorities said the injured man and another person were attending a party on Brightside near River Road. The two walked outside, then several suspects exited the vehicle and opened fire on the two.
Number 2.
Man died in his vehicle after a shooting Friday night on Oswego Street, according to BRPD. Officers were called to the 3000 block of Oswego shortly after 9 p.m. They found 37-year-old Robert Hills in his vehicle suffering from gunshot wounds. He died at the scene.
Number 1.
Hispanic residents in Baton Rouge are asking local officials for protection from national deportation mandates and to make Baton Rouge a sanctuary city. Quote, it's just so sad to see our people fight for something we shouldn't have to fight for because this country is for everybody. That's coming from Angie Parle Sanchez, talking with our news partners at WBRZ. She was one of the many who gathered in downtown Baton Rouge on Sunday afternoon, marching to the Capitol building, wanting to stop deportation efforts. Quote, hang on, let me get to the bottom of the article here. Want to stop deportation efforts ahead of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem coming to New Orleans. She'll be there today to speak with Governor Landry and the media about the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras safety. What's trending there, John?
Well, President Donald Trump announced Saturday that the U.S. would begin imposing tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. So there's that.
Well, 6:25, we're going to have some audio from the president from yesterday about this. I mean, I'm torn on the tariff thing, not for the same reason that a lot of people. You scroll through social media, and you're just going to think the American economy is over with as of this morning.
One would think. Yeah.
No, this is not. This is not that. You're going to have the overreactions of children, and then the things will level out after that.
Oh, indeed. Indeed they will. Hey, the Grammys were last night.
Yeah. You watched?
I didn't.
Yeah. You
Saw
follow
clips.
any of it? Yeah.
Clips. Yeah. You know. My days of sitting down for the Grammys are kind of over. You know, it's just one of those things, you know. Taking home Song of the Year, Not Like Us, by Kendrick.
Oh, all right.
Kendrick took over.
So we'll probably hear that in New Orleans on Sunday.
Oh, got to, right?
So you can bet, like on DraftKings or whatever, you can bet on which one he's going to lead with.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know there are a lot of speculations. He also took home Record of the Year.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, best pop duo.
Oh, wait a minute.
Does
that mean he beat out Taylor Swift's, what was it, Annoying Poets or Tortured Poets?
Tortured Poets.
Torture Me More. Yeah. Okay, he beat out Taylor Swift.
Yeah, with a diss track at that. That's
right.
Fascinating.
He won Record of the Year for Hating Drake.
Yeah. Best pop duo in group, Die with the Smile, of course, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. And taking home Album of the Year and also Best Country Album, Cowboy Carter by Beyonce.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't realize.
Beyonce, the country star.
Beyonce, yeah.
Yeah.
Man. It's some people's bag. I don't know. Were you into it?
What, the Beyonce?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's really good. I just never thought I would see a world where on one hand Kendrick Lamar and Taylor Swift are doing battle, and then on another hand, Beyonce's a country star. Like Taylor Swift is
Fantastic
over
point.
here. I did not. That was not in the cards, as it were. Any Sabrina Carpenter sightings last night?
You know what? I don't. Looking through it, she had to have won something. I know she was nominated.
Yeah,
She was nominated.
but like
Coming in
Espresso
close.
was on top of the charts
It
for
was.
so long.
And I mean, Short and Sweet was best pop vocal album.
Okay, I'll
so
take
she
that.
has something. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you
think that's
can't
pretty much-
be stuck. You can't have a song stuck in my head for the
Right.
better part of the entire year
Yeah.
and then not win something.
Yeah, she took home definitely best pop vocal album.
All right. Anything else going on?
Yeah. Speaking of music and country at that, Lainey Wilson is coming to Baton Rouge as one of her stops to her newly announced world tour that kicks off in March. She will be at the Raising Cane's River Center on September
I
11th.
saw that press release on Friday. That's
Yeah.
so I know she's homegrown and everything, but that's still a
Right.
big get for the River Center.
Oh,
I mean, when
absolutely,
you
of
see,
course.
if you run down the world tour and some of the stops along the way,
Yeah.
seeing Raising Cane's River Center in the same conversation as Madison Square Garden, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
You're doing okay, River Center. Keep it up. Gotta
Showing
love that.
Louisiana some love, and it's true, right? I mean, to be among that, because a lot of artists, whether they're from here or not,
Yeah.
they just sometimes bypass
Yeah.
Louisiana
Well,
altogether.
And this has been the battle in Baton Rouge, especially as they'll hit New Orleans and they'll hit Houston, and we just get, driven through.
Yeah,
So
it's good
nice.
to see it.
Yeah.
Good to see it.
611 Talk 1073 FM WBRP. We got a whole lot of sports to cover. So I want to go ahead and stay on time right now. So let's go ahead and break it real quick. When we come back, we're going to talk LSU women's basketball, LSU men's basketball. Jack Bash, showed up and showed out at the Senior Bowl. And huge NBA trade. We'll cover it all next. I'm going to 2.2. And 2.4. You what? Yeah. Oh, yeah. The other one's just Jack Bash by himself. Yeah. Oh, no, this is women's. Yeah, I'm sorry. I completely forgot I sent you men's highlights on Saturday. Damn it. Was she active this past year, or was she 1 year before that? Yeah. 6:15, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. We got a lot of ground to cover in sports here, so let's dive right on in. Start with the LSU women's basketball team, who you heard right here on Talk 107.3 FM yesterday. Patrick Wright, Shaida Williams on the call. 4 Tigers scoring in double figures as number 7 LSU moves to 23-1 on the season, 8-1 in conference play by beating Mississippi State 81-67. A lot of the work they got done from behind the three-point line. Tigers were led in scoring by Michaela Williams, who had 22 overall. She was 4 of 8 from behind the three-point line, including this one.
They beat pressure. Morrow, 6-footer, no good, but Wolfenbarger will chase it down. Up top, Day Wilson, right wing to Williams. She wants 3 more. Give it to her!
Oh, my goodness.
I just wish I knew what it was like to be in the zone that Michaela's in.
She has been in it for a while, and I love every minute of it.
16, including 4 threes. It's an 18-point game.
Michaela Williams, 4 of 8 from behind the three-point line, 8 of 16 from the floor overall. She wasn't the only one hot from 3. Flau'jae Johnson was 4 of 6 from behind the arc.
Top of the key, Gilbert. Gilbert, left side. Johnson for 3. It's good.
Nice.
Flau'jae, a 3. She's got 3 of those, has 11. 7th 3. Bengal Pest Product three-pointer for the Tigers. They're up 11, so they've now scored 5 in a row.
All in, 9 three-pointers from the LSU Tigers, 4 from Michaela Williams, 4 from Flau'jae Johnson, 1 from Kaylin Gilbert. Like I said, Michaela led the way with 22 points. Flau'jae had 20. Anissa Morrow had 18 points and 20 rebounds. Jersey Wolfenbarger had 12 points to add on to that. So LSU, like I said, moves on to 8-1 in conference play. They will continue conference play coming up on February 6th. I believe that's Thursday. They will be at Missouri, 6:30 p.m. You'll hear it right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Meanwhile, the men, it's just the same song on repeat for Matt McMahon's team. It doesn't matter who they're playing. What matters is that they're just a player, possibly a player and a half short. After losing by single digits to number 4 in the nation, Alabama, and I believe it was 12 points was the margin of victory against Auburn, LSU goes out Saturday night and just gets blown out at home against unranked Texas. 89-58 your final score there. It was 31-25 Texas at halftime, and LSU looked like they could very, very easily be in it. I mean, you're hard-pressed to find positives in a half of basketball that only nets you 25 points. But when it's 31-25 and you're playing horribly, you know you can correct course, come back, maybe fix some things, and get back on the right track. That was not the case. Your second half was 58-33 Texas. The LSU Tigers are just hurting for points. Badly hurting for points. They had 1 Tiger in double figures all night long. 1 Tiger in double figures. That was Jordan Sears, who had 13 on the night. I mean, the shooting was the shooting wasn't horrible. They shot 45% from the floor on the night, but the problem is they're giving up too many offensive boards on the opposite end of the court, way too many turnovers to be sure. It wasn't that bad. It was 12 on Saturday night. Problem was they had like 4 turnovers in the first 2 minutes of the second half, and Texas just went on a run with those turnovers, and there was just no coming back after that. It was brutal to be sure. The LSU men's team is now 1-7 in conference play. The struggles just continue until they need more guys. At Georgia, so things don't really get a whole lot easier. They'll be at Georgia on Wednesday. That's a late tip-off. It'll be 8 p.m. on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. I say things will get better. Georgia's 3-6 in conference play, 15-7 overall. So slim chance that they can pull something out over there. We got a lot more to. You know what? Sports is going to have to roll over to the next segment as well. I want to stay on time. Let's go ahead and hit the Fox Business Report. When we come back, Jack Besh showed up and showed out in the Senior Bowl. And we'll stop in on the NBA. We don't often talk NBA, but there were some monster trades over the weekend as the trade deadline rolled through. We'll cover a little bit of that next. Right now, here comes the Fox Business Report right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Yeah. Did I not email them to you? Heading on back to the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center, starting off your Monday morning. We're actually looking pretty good. You get your normal congestion, your normal volume, let's say, on I-12 westbound coming in from Denham Springs. It'll be on again, off again, nothing major. I-10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish looks good. 10 eastbound coming across from West Baton Rouge is looking good as well. So does 110. Both bridges are wide open as well. Zooming out a little bit, if we head back towards Lafayette, things are looking good on 10 the whole way in. And heading down into New Orleans, we're looking good on 10 that way as well. Surface streets, we do have an accident, Greenwell Springs at Oak Villa. There's an accident that's in the roadway, was reported about 10 minutes ago, so it should be being worked by BRPD right now. That's really good traffic from the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center. You should have an email that says 4625. It was sent at 5:36 this morning. You got it? Okay. .625 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along as often happens on a Monday. Sports had to spill over into a second segment. We don't often talk NBA in our sports segments, but when you have two monster trades like we saw over the weekend, it is worth a quick mention. First of all, the more recent one, a three-way trade between San Antonio, Sacramento, and Chicago. De'Aaron Fox is now going to be a San Antonio Spurs. Zach LaVine going to Sacramento. The Bulls picked up their first-round pick back for the 2025 draft. That was a big one, but the fact that it followed such a monster blockbuster on Saturday night, it made it look small by comparison. Former New Orleans Pelican Anthony Davis, who made his way out west to go play for the Lakers, play alongside LeBron James. He's packing his bags again. This time he's going to Dallas. Anthony Davis heads to the Mavericks. Luka Doncic goes to Los Angeles to be a Laker. This was an absolute, my amateur take, was an absolute steal by the Lakers. They got a little bit younger. They begin plans for post-LeBron. There were other players and a draft pick involved in the trade. In fact, L.A. picked up a draft pick in the trade as well. But they got a little bit younger. They started to earn some draft assets back, and they ship off AD to Dallas, who, okay, we'll see you later. Also in sports, last one before we move on, before we close up the book on our sports segment here, and that is former LSU Tiger, TCU receiver Jack Bech. Boy, did he improve his draft stock over the weekend. Big boost on Saturday. He was the MVP of the 2025 Senior Bowl. In fact, he caught the game-winning walk-off touchdown. Here was Jack Bech after the game.
I know it's been an emotional week for you. It couldn't finish any better for you.
It couldn't have.
He's got the game ball here in his hand. He's wiping his eyes a little bit. Dude, you're the MVP of the game.
Thank you.
You've earned it.
Yeah, it's been crazy. If anybody could ever say that God's not real and that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, there's nothing that could ever tell me different. I mean, if you can't see it through this, then I don't know what it will take. But, man, I just want to attribute it all to Jesus Christ, my Savior, and my brother.
Our best to you, your family. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much. Yes.
My Savior and my brother. There's another quote. I didn't have time to pull. The audio on the other one wouldn't download for some reason. The other quote says, my brother has some wings on me. He gave them to me. He let that all take place. My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Tiger, nothing else but them. They're the reason I did what I did today. Of course, Tiger Bech killed on New Year's morning in the terror attack on Bourbon Street. Jack Bech honoring his brother through just an unbelievable performance in the Senior Bowl. So, yeah, emotional Jack Bech after the game, and rightfully so. Gonna pivot here. You know what? I'm looking at the clock, and we're gonna stay on time today. That's been the New Year's resolution, and we're doing a pretty good job of it. So, we're gonna talk tariffs at 6:52. We're gonna talk Super Bowl after we take the break for news, traffic, and weather. Not Super Bowl in terms of Chiefs versus Eagles. Super Bowl in terms of New Orleans prep, New Orleans getting ready, New Orleans on the world stage. Louisiana is on the world stage. How are we making the most of it? We're going to cover all that. We'll talk a little bit about security. We'll talk a little bit about economic development. That'll all be coming up right after we check news, traffic, and weather at the bottom of the hour, which is about a minute and a half away. So let me go ahead and start to tell you or ask you if you've got lunch plans today. If you don't, might I suggest P.F. Chang's? And in fact, right now through, oh, no, they're not here yet. Darn it. Looking forward to the Lunar New Year. P.F. Chang's is going to have a lot to celebrate there. We'll get to all that in about 2 weeks once the Lunar New Year gets here. Right now, though, we have chef's specials going on at P.F. Chang's. We got the oolong Chilean sea bass. It's wild-caught tea-marinated filet, ginger soy sauce, woked spinach. That's available as a chef's special right now at P.F. Chang's. Also, the salt and pepper prawns, crisp prawns, aromatics, chili peppers, tossed in a spicy chili butter. I've actually had this, and it's phenomenal. I can speak directly to this one. I haven't had the sea bass yet. I would imagine if it's like everything else on the P.F. Chang's menu, when it comes out as a chef special, it's going to be quote-unquote special for sure. P.F. Chang's, you'll find them off Corporate Boulevard in Town Center. Look for the giant golden horse. ABC News coming your way. We'll have the latest on they will have the latest on Donald Trump and the newly imposed tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. I'll have some thoughts on that at the end of the hour. Then we'll check our local news, traffic, weather, Super Bowl. We'll check out things out in New Orleans next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Good morning, Christy. Welcome in, boo. I assume. I haven't even opened Facebook yet. This country is for everybody. No, Angie, it's not. Yes and no. This country was built on being for everybody. But as time grows on, there's laws built in here. Yeah, I saw that about the Panama president. That's awesome. Troy says, anybody believe we can get by this week without an air incident? I'm starting to doubt. Man, I don't know. Two is not a pattern, Two is coincidence. And if DEI hiring was such a problem, how did we skirt for 4 years and then all of a sudden it shows up? OTOH. How long can a 24/7 organization properly run at 70% personnel levels? Bounty Kitchen. What's OTOH? Galen's clearly talking about the air traffic controllers, and he's 100% right. On the other hand, thank you. Nah, see, that's a forehead slapper. That's such an obvious thing now that he says it. On the other hand, yeah. So what does this week's forecast have in store for us? Well, for that, we turn to WBRZ meteorologist Tim McCade Cowan. High of 80 today. .638 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hey, coming up next hour, we got Medical Monday coming your way with the folks from Our Lady of the Lake. Also next hour, let's talk education. Our state's report card came in last week. LSU moving up, Louisiana moving up to number 32 overall. Impressive to say the least. We'll get the breakdown of the numbers. Mary Beth Hughes Derrickson from the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. She specializes in education on their end. She'll join us at 7:35. Also on the show, of course, we'll talk about everything under the sun with Moon Griffon at 8:15, and then we'll wrap up our guest list with Julie Emerson, going back to that education topic right there. So looking forward to those conversations. Right now, though, you heard the story in our news at the bottom of the hour, or just in the last news break right there, that New Orleans is looking to roll out the red carpet for the entire world. It is on. Teams got into town, yesterday, I believe? Philly and Kansas City arriving. And it is Super Bowl week. We talked with Walt Leger last week, and I brought up the term pencils down. Remember when you were in school and you were taking like your SAT or your ACT or any exam you were taking, and when the exam was finally time to be turned in, the teacher or the proctor would say pencils down? Well, that's kind of where we're at with New Orleans, although they're still able to work on projects as folks are still arriving. A lot has gotten done. A lot more will get done before it's all said and done. Kelly Schultz with New Orleans & Company tells our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network, New Orleans is the layout makes it very easy for visitors to take in everything that the city has to offer.
People can walk from their hotel to the Caesars Superdome. They can go to a great restaurant and then go over to the convention center for the media center or for the Super Bowl experience.
And this is what makes New Orleans the premier Super Bowl location every time. This is why New Orleans has hosted more Super Bowls than anybody else. This is why, the last time they were here, there was a blackout. They lost power, and they're still back. New Orleans is the best Super Bowl location there is. I mean, yes, from the Caesars Superdome, you walk straight up Poitras, and you run into Caesars, the casino. From there, you turn turn to your right just a little bit, and you're going to see the Montreal Convention Center. Or you look to your left, you get past another block or two, you've got the French Quarter. So it is very convenient in that regard. And then anything else outside of that, if you wanted to venture out, sure you can. There's a lot going on throughout the week. There's going to be events all week long.
The NFL has different events like the Taste of NFL and the awards and all of these ancillary events that are going on throughout the city.
Schultz adds that this is the time for the city just overall put its best foot forward.
You're also going to have CEOs of major companies. You're going to have 6,000 members of the international media. There are going to be, of course, athletes that are playing in the game, but former athletes as well.
The CEOs part is my favorite part of the whole thing because we are fully taking advantage of every opportunity to sell the state. We had Susan Bourgeois, our economic development secretary, on last week. She was talking a good bit about the Louisiana Now Pavilion. In fact, I would recommend check out, is it lanow.biz? Media.lanow.biz, okay? If this is where I got my media credentials for the event going on tomorrow. The Louisiana Now Pavilion is basically this giant tent. It's bigger than a tent, but we're going to call it a tent. Giant tent that's adjacent to the Montreal Convention Center, kind of like in between the Convention Center and the Hilton. And it's a showcase of everything that Louisiana has to offer. Multimedia showcase as well. You can find videos by other CEOs, by other big names who have invested in Louisiana in the past. And not just that they've invested, but the why and what they've gotten out of it. They've got the Marucci story up there. They got Curtis 50 Cent Jackson up there. Look, he made a big investment in Shreveport. Made a big investment thanks to our film tax credit that now he's got studios up there for recording, not just music, but movies and videos and everything else as well. 50 Cent said Shreveport was the place to be. Talk about that meta deal in Monroe. That's going to be sold on a huge level to say, hey, if Mark Zuckerberg said yes, you should too. So tomorrow, 11 a.m. at the Louisiana Now Pavilion, I'll be down there for it. There's going to be a huge event talking about Louisiana's economic transformation and everything that we have to offer that goes along with it. So definitely looking forward to that. On the security side, it's going to be a no drone zone for the Super Bowl. Drone restrictions will be extending throughout a lot of the downtown area in the days leading up to the big game. FAA drone expert Kevin Morris says this ensures the airspace will stay safe.
Keep the people that are in the air safe as well as the people that are, in this case, attending the big game on Sunday in the week leading up to it.
Morris says before game day, that would be, of course, all this week, drone restrictions apply within 1.5 nautical miles of Lafayette Square, up to 2,000 feet.
And that runs from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Monday, and it also runs again on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at various times.
On game day, Sunday, February 9th, restrictions will begin at 1:30 p.m. within 1.5 nautical miles of the stadium, up to 2,000 feet. Morris says from 4:30 to 10:30, restrictions will expand to 30 nautical mile radius and 18,000 feet. Morris says when you look at those restrictions, you may just want to leave the drone at home altogether.
If you're intending to fly your drone anywhere within 30 miles of the Caesars Superdome, not a good idea to do that on Super Bowl Sunday.
Unauthorized drone operators would risk confiscation and fines up to $75,000 and potential criminal charges as well. That Lafayette Square bit is an interesting one. As if I'm not mistaken, so Lafayette Square is kind of the center spot between, if you're going up Poydras from the Dome to the river or from the Dome to the casino, Lafayette Square is Poydras at Camp, but you got to go back a block. It's not very prominent from any perspective of, if you're just tooling around, you're not going to really see it. But it's a great center point between the Dome and the river. I'm guessing that's why they picked Lafayette Square. It's it's in between Camp and St. Charles. It's 1 block behind Poydras. Interestingly enough, that's where the Wyndham Whitney is. If it's still a Wyndham hotel. Yeah. Hotel used to be a bank back in the day. One of those historic ones where they transform the old bank into a hotel, and the old vault becomes a meeting room, and the old teller section is where the bar is at. Gorgeous property. Yours truly stayed there on his wedding night. Yeah, we'll walk down memory lane right there. But it's the midway point, Lafayette Square. Oh, you know what? Okay, here's an interesting little piece. Lafayette Square has a very prominent scene in Oliver Stone's JFK movie. 1990 JFK, you know when they take the little walking tour?
Yes.
They're in Lafayette Square, a good chunk of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, when they talk about the, they're walking through, why am I forgetting the character's name? Ed Asner played him.
I know, but.
Yep. Yep, I need to not do this while we're live, huh? I need to do this
I know,
during a break where I can look it up. Ed Bannister played Bannister. All right, 6:47. We got a break. I'll clean it up. I'll tighten up. We're going to talk tariffs next after we check your money now in traffic here on Talk 107.3 FM. Guy Bannister. Damn it!
Guy Bannister. Yeah. Had to hurry up and look it up.
I always lock my files.
Yep.
You're coming spy.
Yeah.
And then he pistol whips Jack Lemmon.
Hey, speaking of JFK movies, what do you think about? So, all the information comes out, right? Everything's gonna be made public. What type of movies do you think will be made from that? How long do you think it'll take?
I think they're going to re-release JFK.
Yeah?
Look, I know there's a want for everyone to believe the stories that they've heard growing up and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, if you grew up in New Orleans, whether you're just growing up, especially on the North Shore, there were so many different stories that all had the same basis, and like a detail or two would be different from here and there.
Fascinating.
But when that many people have the same basic story underneath what they're talking about, it lends to credibility.
It does.
The Whitney Hotel. It is still there. Well, I'm glad I got what I thought was 10 seconds early.
It is like right on.
Yeah. If you want to replace the tariff story for trending next hour.
I mean, either way. Because I could hit on the fact that he posted on his social media, the Truth Social, updating that official orders of the tariff, stating that the decision was made to protect Americans because of the major threat of illegal aliens and deadly drugs killing our citizens, including fentanyl. So, I don't know, but I could. That was just a.
So I'm gonna talk about that part of it.
Yeah, but yeah. So you think it'd be too much?
Yeah, I don't know. .652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP, holding at 57 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So a lot of the headlines, a lot of the stories this morning are going to be about how tomorrow, starting tomorrow, the tariffs will kick in. 25% tariffs, 25% tariff on a number of items from Canada and Mexico, and then 10% on items coming in from China. Now, as I understand it, this is not a blanket tariff on everything that comes in from Canada, Mexico, or China. And been having trouble over the weekend finding an exact list. The story is reported by CNN says it'll be a 25% duty on all imports from Mexico and most goods from Canada. So you drop down from 25 to 10%. I believe it's on energy-related items. And then you get the 10% tariff on Chinese goods that are imported into the United States as well. So if it's all imports from Mexico, that is going to sting, because a 25% tariff on all imports from Mexico is going to mean a number of fruits and vegetables. A lot of the things that folks rely on at the grocery store on a regular basis. It is going to sting a little bit. Donald Trump talked about that. There will be some short-term pain, he says. In fact, let me not just read his quote. We have his quote. How about that? Cut one.
We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that. But long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world. We have deficits with almost every country. Not every country, but almost.
So if you want to use tariffs as a negotiating tool to negate those deficits, that's fine. That's fair. But there's a second part of this that I don't think that he's trying to do two things at once through one action. And this is the part that I don't understand, is a lot of the reporting on this talks about how you're penalizing Canada and Mexico for not cracking down on fentanyl that gets to the United States that actually originated in China. In fact, Donald Trump mentioned that. Cut three, if you would. Donald Trump mentioned that this is a part of the underlying reason behind the tariffs.
It's pouring in from China through Mexico and Canada, and they've got to stop it. And if they don't stop it, the tariffs are going to get worse, a lot worse.
Okay, so are you using the tariffs to even out the playing field on the trade deals that we're in deficit on? Or are you using tariffs as a carrot on a stick, or just the stick itself, in order to get them to crack down on fentanyl? Because if it's on the one hand, you can go to the negotiating table and work out better deals. But if it's on the other hand, I've got multiple questions here, not the least of which is, why are you punishing China the least between the three? And the amount of fentanyl that comes across from Canada is, and granted, this was a couple of hours worth of reading. I'm not an expert on the subject at all, but you would have a much bigger problem with Mexico than you would Canada. Now, forget all of that, and pivot over towards, if you're implementing tariffs as a punishment for fentanyl, wouldn't you want to get your border tight first? See, in any economic equation, you want as few variables as possible. That's how you figure out what's working and what's not. Narrow the variables down so that you can determine what is the differentiating factor here. What's the variable that's going up? What's the variable that's going down? If you implement tariffs at the same time as you're, increasing border security, you don't know which one is working to which effect. So I'm not opposed to tariffs when it comes to balancing the ledger on economic trade deals, on trade deals that we are not winning on, because we need to be winning, and the president's right on that regard. But if it is in order to get them in line when it comes to cracking down on fentanyl, you're not going to get a one-for-one evaluation of how it's working out. By the way, back to Canada specifically. Trump is cut for. Trump talks about how we are in deficit when it comes to trade there.
Canada's been very abusive of the United States for many years.
In fact, he elaborates on that, goes a little bit further.
Canada's been very tough on oil, on energy. They don't allow our farm products in, essentially. They don't allow a lot of things in, and we allow everything to come in. It's been a one-way street.
See, this is the area where I completely agree. Completely agree with the president. If you need to use that to throw a little elbow to pull down a couple of rebounds, then absolutely do so. My bigger problem with it right now, though, is we have had an absolute economic disaster when it comes to our own personal economies. From COVID to the overspending leading to inflation to where we're at right now, you can't reel in inflation while implementing tariffs to this level, because prices at the grocery store aren't going to go down. Now, long term, if you can pivot manufacturing or farming or whatever to more of a domestic base, then eventually the pricing won't matter because the jobs will pick back up and our income will catch back up, and long term that'll happen. But if right now, if 1 week into your presidency, all the media can talk about is how much the cost of eggs is, and then if you want to trade off eggs for avocados or eggs for, I almost said strawberries, but we know better than that because we want Louisiana strawberries. We know way better than that. But if you want to make that trade-off, your grocery bill isn't going down just yet, and your income sure as heck hasn't kept up with it. One more from the president talking about tariffs. Be on the lookout for more coming from Europe instead. Cut 2.
They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm products. They take almost nothing. And we take everything from them. Millions of cars, tremendous amounts of food and farm products.
I think the biggest thing here, my biggest takeaway, is the colossal overreaction by just about everybody. It is not going to be an end-all, be-all fix. It is one part in an overall negotiating game. I have the faith and confidence that it will lend to better things on most fronts. He's not going to bat 1,000. Nobody bats 1,000. He's not going to win every battle he goes out there for. But year from now, 2 years from now, get a better look at the balance sheet and see what's played out. We got news, traffic, weather coming up. We've got hour 2 on the way next at 7 o'clock at Talk 107.3. All right, light me up, Facebook. Tell me why my economics training is... Hey, David Saberman in the house. What up, dog?
What's up, David?
What's happening, Matt? What'd you say, Rich?
Hey, you and Mike want to come on 2 and I, and now we're back able to do what we enjoy doing every weekend with no problem.
What's that?
We take our 50-year-old bikes, we go to the crime scene, and we start shooting on our free phones.
Yep,
dude.
I'm in.
Jacked up, man.
I'm in.
Finally.
I'm in.
And we like doing it during the workday, too. That's always cool.
I prefer going at night. Because when you go at night, you can really scare the shit out of law enforcement.
I like it because I get to dress casual.
Yeah.
But, hey, nice job raising your daughter right. I mean, check this out, dude. I stumbled on this.
I know she's being funny, but okay, whatever.
Hey, so like all of your leagues, you know, I got it written down. The Catholic Association, you know, like St. Jude out of middle school kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm organizing a thing where I'm getting every coach to bring his best 3-pointer. I'm bringing him to LSU practice. Help the LSU.
I've got my 7th grade daughter hits more than LSU men's team. My 7th grade daughter who plays against Ricky's 7th grade daughter.
St. Michael's?
Oh.
No, she's in 7th grade at St. George.
See, they missed 359 of 507 3-point shots. It's unbelievable, man.
Dude, you and me at the YMCA put up better numbers.
No question. Remember when you used to have to be able to shoot the basketball to be on scholarship? They need to bring back them days.
Those days, yeah. Wow.
It's unbelievable. You know, we may never. I won't, Brian. I may not live long enough to see LSU ranked again in the top 25.
I think you will. I think they'll be there. I think they'll be there next year.
Okay, Palmer.
What motivates?
Oh!
They're gonna buy. Galen says, if you're going to implement good but painful regulation, it's best to do so early in the administration, and hopefully the benefits will materialize by the end of the term. I'm for the tariffs. I at no point did I say I was against the tariffs, but I will say it sucks going grocery shopping. And this isn't helping that. It's exacerbating that. Don't care what part of his term he's in. I did not watch the Senior Bowl, Keith. I grabbed highlights. So, no, I missed out on that. But good to know. I'll let Rocco know. .705 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. We got a busy second hour as well. Woo! Got a little tariff discussion going over on the Facebook Live chat. We are live on Facebook every single day. Your contributions are encouraged, not just welcomed, encouraged. We're on Facebook Live. We're also on YouTube on the Talk 1073 Baton Rouge YouTube page. Although, if you want to get involved in the discussion, so much more happens over on the Facebook Live feed. Now, I will tell you this. Shout out to the folks over at Lake Urgent Care. They're the ones that bring you our on demand and are live over there on Facebook. So get involved. A lot of really good comments coming in on tariffs. And you know what? Not knee-jerk reaction stuff either. All right, this hour, Medical Mondays in our next segment. We've got Mary Beth Derrickson from Mary Beth Hughes Derrickson from La B at 7:35 talking education. Right now it's time for Top Stories and Trending.
Number 5.
Sorry, right as you hit number 5, the cough popped back up again. St. George Mayor Dustin Yates going to have some competition to hang on to his gig. Republican Jim Morgan qualified Friday to challenge Yates for mayor in the upcoming March election. Morgan is a member of the St. George Fire Protection District Board of Commissioners. A number of folks qualified for those city council races as well. As the week wears on, we'll start to break that. Well, you know what? No, let me be 100% transparent. Right after we're done with the February election, we'll start to look at the March election.
Number 4.
A federal judge Friday barred enforcement of a Louisiana law that requires people to stay at least 25 feet away from police officers as they do their work, saying it was unconstitutionally void for vagueness. This is U.S. District Judge John W. DeGravel. He issued a preliminary injunction against the law, saying it was likely that reporters could prove, a number of media outlets are the ones who filed the suit, reporters could prove that the law violated their rights by preventing them from news-gathering activities.
Number 3.
Deportation. Hispanic residents in Baton Rouge are asking local officials for protection from national deportation mandates and to make Baton Rouge a sanctuary city. Quote, it's just so sad to see our people fight for something we shouldn't have to fight for because this country is for everybody, says Angie Peral Sanchez. Well, everybody who comes here legally, Angie. I mean, that's kind of the long and the short of it there. So there was a big protest where folks gathered in downtown yesterday afternoon, marched over to the Capitol building. I have to think if there was any real danger of them being deported. Announcing where they were going to be and when probably wasn't the best move.
Number 2.
It's right there on a platter, John.
I know.
One person's hurt after a shooting during a party on Brightside Drive near River Road from 1:30 a.m. Sunday morning. A man was dropped off at the hospital with a gunshot wound before that shooting. He was at the party. He and another person were at the party. They walked outside. Several suspects exited a vehicle and then opened fire on the two of them.
Number 1.
A man died in his vehicle after shooting Friday night on Oswego Street, according to BRPD. Officers were called to the 3000 block shortly after 9 p.m. They found 37-year-old Robert Hillis in his vehicle suffering from gunshot wounds. He died at the scene. I'm just saying, John, if you're not here legally, it's probably best not to post up where an entire group of people who aren't here legally is going to be. It's like, hey, we're all going to be here at this time on this day.
I know. I know.
Sometimes punchlines write themselves.
And they're not thought through. You know what's trending? Tariffs, and more tariffs. As President Donald Trump announced Saturday that the U.S. would begin imposing tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China.
We talked about it in the last segment. It's hey, my biggest issue with it right now is my grocery bill. Yeah. We have not recovered from Bidenflation. It has been an absolute disaster for a good chunk of time now. I mean, we went from supply chain issues to inflation, and I'm not able to keep up. I'm not able to keep afloat. And when I say I mean anybody who walks in a grocery store. Everyone. It's tougher right now.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I can live without avocado toast because I'm still Gen X. I'm not a millennial. I can live without avocado toast. So I'm not so much worried about Mexico. Louisiana strawberry is going to be in season real soon.
Yeah.
I'm not so much worried about Mexico.
Only if we just grow everything here. Right?
Celebrity brand tequila might be my big crux.
Really?
Yeah, the 818, the Casamigos, the Terramana, all those celebrity tequilas.
Yeah.
Oh, hell, even Noel Distilleries right here in town. I mean, it's got to be made in Jalisco, Mexico. Yep. You know what?
Dang.
I think the Donald might lose on this one.
Oh,
I mean, oh, man, you start getting into my tequila.
And, of course, he announced on Truth Social, his social network platform, that the decision was made to protect Americans because of the major threat of illegal aliens and deadly drugs killing our citizens, including fentanyl.
Yeah. And on that front,
Right.
Are you getting a 1-for-1 trade on this one?
Right.
And, oh, by the way, let's shut down the border, finish the wall, tighten up the border as much as we can, finish the continue with the deportation efforts right there. You've already got two variables in a huge equation. This adds another variable to it. It makes it that much tougher to discern what was effective and what was not. So do this, do it well, then do something on top of it. Not everything all at once. Look, I'm not a fan of Jackson Pollock, so I don't just like to splatter a whole bunch of paint against the wall and see what's going.
Right. Just see what sticks, right?
Yeah.
Hey, pivoting over just a little bit, the Grammys were last night.
Yeah?
And taking home Song of the Year, as well as Best Rap Performance and Record of the Year. Not Like Us by Kendrick.
Kendrick Lamar, going to be halftime entertainment at the Super Bowl in New Orleans on Sunday. And, yeah, big winner over at the Grammys last night.
Among other winners, Beyonce, Cowboy Carter, was the Album of the Year, as well as Best Country Album.
Huge country artist. Big in the country scene is Beyonce.
Indeed. Best Pop Vocal Album, Sabrina Carpenter, Short and Sweet.
Okay.
Also something that, a nomination that really doesn't get a lot of, I guess, exposure. And it has New Orleans, ties to New Orleans here. Best Spoken Word Album, The Heart, the Mind, and the Soul by Tank and the Bangers.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
okay.
See a little bit of love for Louisiana in there as well.
Awesome.
And speaking of Louisiana, Lainey Wilson is coming to Baton Rouge as one of the stops on her newly announced World Tour that kicks off in March, and she will be here at the Raising Cane's River Center on September 11th.
I saw the press release on Friday, and I was like, I got to remember to print this out and keep it for Monday, and of course I didn't. But I saw the press release, and when you see, it's a world tour. This is a world tour. Right. And to see Raising Cane's River Center in the same sentence as Madison Square Garden, that's a big deal to me.
Indeed.
Like, shout out to the River Center folks. I mean, I know she's homegrown, but making this a priority and getting it done, I don't think they're going to get the kind of love that they deserve for that one. Yeah, but between the River Center, Visit Baton Rouge, Downtown Development District, whoever gets the bouquet of roses on this one, very well earned.
They deserve all the flowers.
Yeah. 713 Talk 107.3 FM. Quick break. We got Medical Monday coming up next. Debbie says if labor cheaper in China and Mexico, wouldn't prices show that? Well, no, prices show that. Products show that. Products show that. If labor weren't cheaper in Mexico and China, it would be made here anyway. The companies don't pass along. Okay, no. All right, I think I get where you're going now, Debbie. The cost we pay at the store has all that factored in already. Patrick says, look at Brian saying Trump won't bat 1,000. Does he not realize descent from the warrior king is not allowed? Must be some sort of Cassidy-loving rhino. I disagree with the president a lot on this show. Like a lot. It doesn't make me any less Republican. See, Byron, that's my biggest issue. That's my fear, is that he's not doing it to affect prices. He's doing it as a flex.
It's time for your weekly checkup. This is Medical Monday, presented by Our Lady of the Lake Health.
Yes, it is time for Medical Monday, and this week we are welcoming in Dr. Stell from Our Lady of the Lake. Dr. Stell, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you on here. Glad to be talking about this as February kicks off. We kind of roll the calendar over here. You are the medical director of the ECMO program over at Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center. So let's start right there. What is the ECMO, and why is it important to have?
So ECMO stands for extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. It's basically the highest form of life support that's available. It's able to provide patients with support for refractory cardiac or respiratory failure when they have failed all other more conventional forms of life support. Those such as medications to improve heart function or medications to help keep your blood pressure up for those patients that are having cardiac failure. And then also for patients with respiratory failure, it can support them whenever they have continued to have low oxygen levels despite being on a ventilator.
Go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no problem. It's important to have this because, Our Lady of the Lake, it's a major regional referral center for South Louisiana. In the past, these patients, they would have to go out to New Orleans or Shreveport or even as far as Houston. But now we have this here. When you serve a catchment area as large as Our Lady of the Lakes, I think it's pretty important to be able to have this highest level of care and be able to provide that to our patients.
So the highest level of care when it comes to life support, how does it work?
So the ECMO circuit, it consists of two large catheters that are placed into vessels, either in the groin or in the neck. We drain blood through plastic tubing from the vein. It gets drained through a pump, and then that pump propels the blood through an artificial lung where the blood is oxygenated, carbon dioxide removed, and then goes through more tubing back to the second catheter, which is placed in either a vein or an artery, depending on whether or not the patient is needing respiratory support or cardiac support. While the patient is on the machine, it's continuously being used. It's acting as a replacement for the patient's heart or lungs, whichever of those has failed, if not both. And so the machine's continuously running until the patient has recovered and is able to come off of the machine.
It sounds similar to like a transfusion, but you're recharging the same blood. Is that about an oversimplification or what?
It's the same blood, and so it is constantly being run out of the patient and then brought back to them. Similar to it originates from the original like cardiopulmonary bypass pumps that people are put on for heart surgery while the heart's being operated on. It's a variation really of that.
Wow, fascinating. We have that level of technology, and especially that we have it in our own backyard. What type of patients would benefit from ECMO treatment?
So the patients that benefit the most are those who have some reversible cause of either severe cardiac or severe respiratory failure. These sort of patients are people like with heart attacks or unstable arrhythmias, myocarditis, something that has caused a severe acute heart failure. Those are ones that may benefit from veno-arterial ECMO, which is what's used to support the failing heart. Then for respiratory ECMO, patients with ARDS or acute respiratory distress syndrome from things like pneumonia, flu, COVID, those sort of things. Those people that have failed ventilator treatments, they've been on the ventilator, but their oxygen levels are still too low. Those people may benefit from veno-venous ECMO where the lungs are supported. Unfortunately, also a lot of these patients, they're all very, very sick, and so sometimes they have coexisting organ failures due to their severe illness, which may or may not be recoverable, and those can impact the decision on whether or not to put somebody on ECMO as well.
Dr. Owen Stell is the medical director of the ECMO program over at Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center. We're talking with him for this Medical Monday. Dr. Stell, I want to ask you about how long can someone be on this? Like how sustainable is this?
So people can be on it for a really wide range of time. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they may be on it for a very short amount of time if whatever was wrong with them is quickly resolved, like a few days maybe. Other patients can be on ECMO for weeks to even months. Some of those people that have maybe bad respiratory failure and take a really long time for their lungs to recover, they may be on it for months. But also some of those people have a quickly reversible cause. It all depends on how their body recovers. On average, on average, patients with cardiac failure that are on VA ECMO have a little bit shorter of an amount of time on the machine. And nationally, you look at, how long are these runs going? Average about 5 to 10 days, while those that are on for respiratory failure are really an average of more of 7 to 14 days. But there are definitely outliers out there that can go much longer.
Okay, just in my mind, that was so much longer than I was expecting to hear. That is miraculous, unbelievable stuff. How does someone get admitted to the ECMO treatment? Like, how do you, advance that diagnosis to say we got to get them in there?
So our patients, they come from a really wide variety of areas. Typically, they're all already extremely ill, because this is something that's used at the end, like after everything else has kind of been exhausted. So usually they're already admitted to an ICU somewhere, which may or may not even be in our hospital. We've developed relationships with other hospitals across South Louisiana, and we get transfers from them whenever their patients have gotten really sick and need this. So we may get a referral for somebody to get transferred into the hospital to be looked at for a ECMO evaluation. Also, if these patients at the outside hospital are not stable enough to be transported, we can go out to them and place them on the ECMO machine and then bring them back to Our Lady of the Red Lake for ongoing therapy. Sometimes patients get really sick in a really short amount of time, so occasionally you may get somebody that's coming up from the emergency department or like the cardiac catheterization lab, but typically they're all usually already in an ICU somewhere.
I kind of have a feeling I know the answer to the next question before I ask it, but what are the risks here? Are there any risks associated with ECMO?
Yeah, there are risks. ECMO is inherently a risky therapy. With the large catheters that we put into the vessels, there's always a chance of damaging the vessels because the blood is moving through all of this artificial tubing and touching all of these artificial surfaces like the pump and the oxygen, the membrane lung. A blood thinner is needed to ensure that there's no clotting and that the machine stays running properly. So this puts these patients at risk of bleeding. The circuit itself and all that touching of the surfaces and the pump spinning the blood can also lead to blood trauma, which can then in turn cause bleeding because the blood maybe doesn't clot like it should. It can also lead to other organ dysfunctions like kidney and liver failure if the blood trauma is severe enough. The bleeding events, when I say they can bleed at the insertion sites for the catheters. They can have gastrointestinal tract bleeding, intracranial hemorrhages, or really anywhere else in the body. Also, the long-term presence of these catheters in the bloodstream puts people at risk for infection. All that being said, it is risky. All of these things are potential risk out there, but we also only put people on this machine who we believe would otherwise die without it. And so the benefits that ECMO can provide outweigh the risks when we get into that situation.
And then, of course, you weigh in all the other illnesses and infections because, like you said, they're all very, very, very sick once they get hooked up to it.
Right.
Unbelievable stuff. Dr. Owen Stell with us for another about two and a half minutes. He's the medical director of the ECMO program over at Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center, and that is what we're talking about during this Medical Monday. So what types of providers and specialists make up the ECMO team at Our Lady of the Lake?
Our ECMO team is made up of several different doctors of different specialties, so critical care doctors, cardiologists, cardiothoracic surgeons, vascular surgeons. We've also got our ECMO coordinator who helps to make sure that the program is always running smoothly. And then we have specially trained ECMO specialists and critical care nurses. Our ECMO specialists, they sit with the patient for an entire 12-hour shift, ensuring that the circuit itself runs appropriately, and they make minute-to-minute adjustments so that the circuit functions optimally. So they're basically there to care for the circuit. Then we have our critical care nurses who are also there, one nurse to one patient for the 12-hour shift, and their job is to care for the patient and not really worry about the circuit. They titrate medications and infusions, such as sedation or vasopressors, that sort of stuff. every day we have multidisciplinary rounds meeting on these patients that are on ECMO. So this includes respiratory therapists, physical therapists, occupational and speech therapists, and then laboratory staff to ensure that the patient's getting the proper rehab care and monitoring while they're on the machine. We also have palliative care that follows along closely with these patients to provide support to the patients' families, because it's always it's a very difficult time for these patients' families because the patients are so sick. Behind the scenes, we have our ECMO coordinator, like I said, and then the nursing directors who they work to provide ongoing education to our ECMO specialists and nurses and make sure that the program has everything that it needs from a supply standpoint to always be prepared. And they're in touch with other hospitals around the region who don't have ECMO, looking for those patients that we might can help.
I mean, that's so thorough, and it's so intricate. That level of teamwork, I mean, that's got to be a tight-knit bunch.
Yeah, it is.
Unbelievable stuff. We got Dr. Owen Stell with us. This has been Medical Monday on Talk 107.3 FM, of course, presented by Our Lady of the Lake. Dr. Stell, where can folks go if they want to learn more?
They can look on Our Lady of the Lake website. They can also look into the ELSO.com is a website that also helps with information on ECMO to kind of provide some education to patients' families and that sort of stuff.
He is Dr. Owen Stell. Man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate a couple minutes. Fascinating stuff today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We're at 727 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hey, while we have a quick second, let me remind you about the folks over at Vex European. You could check them out online at vexeuropean.com. VEX, vexeuropean.com. Vinny and his team celebrating their 10th anniversary over at Vex European, specializing in European and exotic vehicle repair. And they do bring the Vexpertise to the table. Visit vexeuropean.com, hit the little drop-down menu, see if your car is on there. I know mine is, which is why I go to Vex European. Then, well, set up your appointment with them right there on the home page. In fact, hit that little appointments tab, and they've got you covered. They, man, if you've got a Mercedes, you're going to have a Mercedes tech. If you got a BMW, you're going to have a BMW tech. That's the long and the short of it. And whatever your make or model is, you're paired with somebody who knows your vehicle inside and out. By the way, while you're at vexeuropean.com, hit that little specials tab, see what they've got going on. For example, a free check engine light scan. They've got that coupon posted up on their specials page. Maybe hit up their Get Acquainted offer if you've never been before. $100 off any regular priced repair or maintenance that would run you $199 or more. So that's as much as a 50% discount. They've got a number of other discounts that are available as well. It starts at vexeuropean.com. You can give them a call, 225-800-4706. You'll find them at 6265 Benefit Drive. That's the back area of Industriplex, but I would just start with vexeuropean.com. It is Super Bowl week. All week long, we're going to be talking about it a good bit. And, man, there's just so much that goes on as a result of Super Bowl week. One of the things that we're going to get into is the economic development aspect of it and what Economic Development Secretary Susan Bourgeois is doing to make sure we are making the most of our moment in the sun, the most of our time when the world's spotlight is on New Orleans. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I'll be down in New Orleans for the Louisiana Now Pavilion. They've got a media event going on, celebrating their wins, celebrating their what they're looking to offer for the CEOs from around the world as they make their way in for the Super Bowl. There's a number of different spotlights that are going to be at the Louisiana Now Pavilion. Spotlights for NASA, Meta, the Port of New Orleans, Global Star, Bollinger Shipyards, Elmer's Chocolate, Curtis Jackson, that'd be 50 Cent. Marucci gets a spotlight as well. And then some of the areas where we do work like nobody else, like liquid natural gas, the liquefied natural gas, LNG, and carbon capture. They're both going to be featured there as well. We'll learn a lot more about how they're selling the state, how they're growing jobs, how economic development is going to happen in real time. That's coming up tomorrow. We'll have more on it on the show on Wednesday. Right now, we got a break. News, traffic, weather. When we come back, we're talking education with Mary Beth Hughes Derrickson next. I don't understand the want to fight back on that. I would want to say, come in here, let's dig through everything. And maybe that's just me, but like if Elon Musk is knocking on the door, I'm gonna say yes, please put some fresh eyes on this. Let's see if we can clean up.
Oh yeah.
But I'm also gonna want the chance to defend the money, not make it some kind of blanket cut. Oh, Nelly. Byron says, I've recently spent a good deal of time in Lake Charles. The handcuffs the Biden administration put on LNG has real and consequential effects on the town. Huh? Oh. The drone zone. A no drone zone. What? I mean, I hate to call out, like, where's your street cred here? But what makes one a drone expert? And by the way, who's going to fly a drone over a domed stadium? I mean, like, I get flying it over the French Quarter.
Yeah.
That makes total sense to me. I wonder how far away is a mile and a half from Lafayette Square. Like, how far up Bourbon Street can you get?
I mean, and that day, like, especially, like, yeah, that day. Like, you know, people get their footage any other day, but I don't know. You're right. I mean, it's but I guess what makes you a professional is, I guess, the time spent doing it, right? The time, you know, that it takes to.
Yeah.
I guess.
All right. So. Oh, it's not a direct route. I'm not going to be able to find it because it's not a direct route. It's not a straight shot. Poop. Okay, no, here we go. Direct route, 1.1 miles. Yeah, you're not. No, don't switch. They said 1.3 miles?
Yeah, I believe so.
1.3 miles from Lafayette Square? Nautical miles?
Yeah.
I wonder if I could use AI to... Let's see. No. New Orleans, dickhead. Dang it, Bobby. Boy, I tell you what, this is not helping me at all. Yeah. That boy ain't right. Ha ha! Oh, piss on you, co-pilot. Ass face. I just want what the map looks like. It's time to get a look at your forecast. Here is WBRZ meteorologist Emma Kate Cowan. 1.3 nautical miles is huge. Huge. It covers the entire French Quarter, to be sure. I mean, it goes halfway through to Marigny. 1.3 nautical miles crosses the river. Hell, 1.3 nautical miles goes all the way up to North Broad. Dude. What are we doing here? Oh. 738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. It was a big week last week as Louisiana got some pretty big news on the educational front, talking about the National Report Card. So let's go ahead and celebrate that news, break it down, talk about where we can go from here. Want to welcome in from the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, Mary Beth Hughes Derrickson. Good morning. Welcome back. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very well as well. Okay, let's start with what the news actually means.
Yeah, so it was a big week last week. And, obviously, I want to preface this by saying there's still a lot of work to do, but sometimes it's great to celebrate. And I think this news for your audience, Brian, is historic. It's the highest Louisiana has ever ranked on the National Report Card rankings. But I think a couple of the big statistics. Well, first of all, we jumped 11 points in our overall ranking. So we are now 31, I believe, now ranked in the National Report Card rankings. But to me, Brian, there were a couple of standout highlights. The fourth grade reading scores have gone up from 42 to 16, which is wild. And overall, the reading scores jumped tremendously. But I just think that this is a testament to a lot of the aggressive reforms that the department and other organizations have been fighting for a long time, and it's a culmination of all those efforts. And I think that, it's great to see Bessie, the governor's office and administration, the department, and other advocacy groups completely in lockstep and aligned, and this is what happens when we all work together. And so I think the unsung heroes of this news is our teachers. And we need to give them all the credit because they're the ones doing this work day in and day out. But it was just a great day for Louisiana last week.
Absolutely. And, yeah, the numbers, whether it was 31 or 32, I don't really remember off the top of my head. But the point is, we've never been that high.
I have it in front of me, 32.
Okay. So having never been that high before and yet still knowing we're not in the top half, I mean, that's equal parts, it's bittersweet.
Right. And I think that, the National Report Card rankings come out every 2 years. Mm-hmm. So if you think about all the reforms and the big victories the ed reform space had in 2024, a lot of those we haven't seen the results of those reforms yet. And so I'm confident that over the next 2 years, we're only going to go up because with all of these changes, they'll finally have time to kind of marinate a little bit. We get to sit back, see what happens, and then hopefully we're just going to continue to jump. But I also want to add, Brian, that a lot of these, a big change that wasn't a legislative change necessarily, the new accountability formula has not gone into effect yet. And so I believe that we will see massive gains once that formula goes into effect. So, I mean, I'm confident that, again, we still have a lot of work to do, but I think a lot of the 2024 reforms will go into effect and we'll see even bigger gains.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. We're talking with Mary Beth Hughes Derrickson from the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry about our report card, our educational report card. Mary Beth, I think my favorite part of it, though, is that 30 second is a tangible number. We're not picking and choosing like, oh, look, we moved up by the largest percentage, and yet we're still way behind everybody else. Or we closed the gap by this percentage. No more gap closing. We're actually moving up rankings here.
Absolutely. And for, a lot of Louisiana critics like to say, oh, Louisiana's in the bottom of everything. We're in the bottom 10. And, not only in education, but across the board, we're rising. It's easy to be negative, but sometimes we have to remember that we're making some huge improvements. And I think that's in large part to the fact that our government, for the first time in a really long time, is completely aligned on priorities. Mm-hmm. And I think that we'll continue to see success. But Brian, I want to mention a couple other nuggets from that report for your audience. In 2022, Louisiana was ranked 45 in 8th grade math. We're now at 43. In 2022, we were ranked 39th in 8th grade reading. We've jumped 10 points to 29th. 4th grade math, we've gone from 44 to 38. And the biggest one, like I mentioned earlier, the fact that we went from 42 to 16. And I think a lot of that one has to do with the fact that, and I've talked about this on your show, Brian, but the literacy screener that went into effect after 2023, which was a huge deal. And I know Dr. Brumley likes to say, well, math got left out. And so in 2024, our good friend Kim Carver authored a bill to make a math screener mandatory in the 3rd grade. So I just think this is just the beginning.
Yes, and the fact that you bring up 8th grade numbers, and we're the jumps in 8th grade right there, I think are important because everything educationally is built from a foundation. And if you're moving up in 4th grade now, 4 years from now, you're going to move up in 8th grade as well. We're already seeing 8th grade jumps without having that space of time before we get to the real thick of it. We haven't seen what an entire class of students makes their way the whole way through the process with having heavy dosage tutoring under the belt, with having the Steve Carter initiatives under their belt, with having like you said what Representative Carver put out
the
math screener as well. Without having all these things under their belt, the longer you have that foundationally, the better the overall numbers are going to be. So we won't be seeing jumps. We'll just be seeing, it's not like diminishing returns, right?
Absolutely.
But it is sustained growth.
You can't build a house on a shaky foundation. You have to have the fundamentals, and that's what Dr. Brumley has talked about extensively. It's like, let's get back to the basics. And I also want to mention last year the legislature passed Let Teachers Teach, because the teachers just need to get back to the fundamentals, and I think this is we're reaping the rewards of those reforms now. Brian, one thing I did want to mention that was very exciting is Louisiana outpaces the nation in almost all of these categories, but the economically disadvantaged students of Louisiana outpace everyone in achievement and growth, which was just so encouraging to hear. So I'm just excited for the future, and want to give kudos to DOE and Dr. Brumley's leadership, but most of all our teachers.
No, absolutely. And if we move up 3 spots in the next one, that's not a letdown. Because you have, like I said, you have those diminishing returns where it's harder. Look, we all understand college football polls, right?
Right.
It's easier to get in the top 25 than it is to get in the top 10. And it's easier to get in the top 10 than it is to move up from number 9 to number 7. And then as we know how that works. It's the same thing educationally. And like we said, and we've got Mary Beth Hughes Derrickson from Lobby with us, and watch this pivot, Mary Beth. If you're talking about building things foundationally, when does the conversation really have to focus on early childhood education?
I'm so glad you bring that up, Brian. This is an issue near and dear to my heart. And February is actually Early Ed Month, so very, very timely to talk about. But I think, I like to say that all of these K through 12 reforms are incredibly important, but none of them, they don't matter unless we invest in our 0 to 4 age group, because we know that the brain is almost fully developed by the time that you reach 5 years old. And so we have got to start investing in these kids. And it's really a twofold problem for the state. So on one hand, you have children that go into kindergarten not ready to learn. Some of them have never even sat in a desk before. So you have teachers wasting time on the absolute basics of class. But then you also have a workforce issue. We have a workforce participation rate, I believe, of around 57, 58%. And child care is one of the biggest barriers into getting folks back into the workplace. So, Louisiana loses, I believe, $1.3 billion annually due to workforce costs, or lost workforce costs. And so it's time that we start properly investing in early childhood. And I think February is a great month to celebrate the work that's already being done, but how we really have to buckle down and move the needle this year.
Talk to me a little bit about walking that balance, though, because early childhood education is not daycare. And yet when it comes to the workforce side of it, it's actually a little bit of daycare is needed. So does the message get lost in the wash because it's twofold?
I definitely think that's the case. We've had some conversations at the Capitol, and there is this discrepancy of, well, why are we subsidizing adults who need to, get into the workforce and, their child's going to get babysat, and that's just not the case. Children actually learn at these early child care centers. I was fortunate enough to go to preschool, but not everyone is, and so that's why these child care centers are so important. It's not daycare. It's not babysitting. It's an opportunity for the child to learn and the parent to get a job and get back into the workforce. So I think investments in early childhood, my good friend Senator Beth Mizell likes to say that investment in early childhood can break the cycle of generational poverty. I mean, this is probably the most pressing issue. Well, in my opinion, it's one of the most pressing issues of the 2025 session, and we hope to, get some good things moved across the finish line.
Got just about a minute and a half left with Mary Beth Hughes Derrickson from LABI, talking about early childhood education and how it's an investment not just in the children, but in the workforce as well. Mary Beth, this is a problem that we've seen be exacerbated ever since COVID. Our workforce participation numbers have gone down since 2020.
Right, absolutely. And I think that, like I said, we want, as the state's chamber, we want to find ways to get business to invest in their employees' child care so that they can ease the burden of them coming to work, coming and not being distracted. And so a lot of those initiatives can look like in the form of micro centers where you have child care centers on site at different companies, or ways for an employer to directly invest in other forms of child care for their employees in the form of a tax credit or others. So we're trying to figure out best practices, how to get business involved. And I think, our friends in Rapides Parish have really figured this out. They, I don't know the numbers specifically, but they serve so many young children. But it's because the business community's bought in. And so I think that we can't get this done without the business community. And, I think a lot of business leaders in Baton Rouge and elsewhere understand that this is a problem. It's just a matter of how do we fix it. So we have some exciting things coming up. I don't want to give too much away, but hopefully some exciting things coming up in the month of February, but also during the legislative session. Okay. And this is priority number one for Lobby as far as I'm concerned. So we are really excited about it. And, as we celebrate the K through 12 scores and how fantastic that is, we also have to continue to work to fund 0 through 4 and incentivize business to get involved.
She is Mary Beth Hughes Derrickson. Well, maybe we'll get you back on when I'm out at the annual meeting in a couple weeks.
Yes, I'd love that. We're so excited to have you. Oh,
yeah, always. It's on my calendar every year before y'all even ask. You're going to throw me out of that place.
Awesome. We're looking forward to it.
As am I. And thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning and some fantastic insight, Mary Beth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. We're at 7:50 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We're super late for Your Money Now. I was right in that zone where I didn't know whether or not to keep it until 51 or.
No, I get it. It was good.
All right. Did you see the report that everything gets paid even if they know it was fraudulent? You talk about Doge? Yes. If you're talking about Doge, then 100% yes, because it's already been appropriated for this year. If Doge is going to act in good faith, they have to honor what has already been promised. And you cut it out for next year. Oh. I can't. What if I just told you I was making shit up as I go? .755 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got ABC News coming up in just a little bit. In our next hour, we'll talk everything under the sun with Moon Griffon. We got a lot to cover with Moon. I do want to talk about that report card with Moon because I know he's a big stickler for when you take baby steps, taking more steps. And what we're seeing on the educational front right now is what happens when you take more than just one step to solve a problem. When you follow up good work with more good work, when you follow up good legislation with more good legislation, and when you carry it out in the real world, and when you let the people who are supposed to do their jobs, you get results. And we're now 32nd in the country on the educational front. So why can't we take that blueprint where you have more than just baby steps and move it over to, I don't know, the insurance world. Move it over to eliminating our income tax. Now, honestly, it's a bigger discussion than that. It's not that simple. But that's where the conversation is going to go. Also, next hour, we'll dive back into the educational topic with State Representative Julie Emerson. That'll be at 8:35. Right now, though, I want to take you back to a story that we heard from our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network, talking about State Treasurer John Fleming looking for an early endorsement from the Louisiana Republican Party in his challenge to Senator Bill Cassidy, who's up for re-election next year. Now, you might be thinking, November of next year, it's a bit early to start talking about the Senate race, but the truth of the matter is, with close primaries, we're going to be talking about this Senate race a lot sooner than you think. We're talking about it a little bit right now, but it's going to grow as a topic a lot more before it even should. LaPolitics.com's publisher, Jeremy Alford, spoke with Louisiana Radio Network. He says Fleming asked for the endorsement when he ran for state treasurer after Governor Landry successfully got that endorsement in the same cycle.
That was the first time he tried to copy Jeff Landry's playbook. It worked then. Now he's going to try to do it again for the U.S. Senate.
Big difference this time, though. Big difference this time. A lot has changed from then till now. Namely, the street value of John Fleming, for one. He ran for state treasurer just to run for Senate. And I don't know why that doesn't tick off Louisianans. He used a vital statewide elected position just to catapult him into another position. And he told us during the campaign he was going to do that. But that's not the only part of this that I don't think is going to keep him from getting the Republican nod or the nod from the Republican Party. There's a couple of other factors in this as well. Now, continuing on with the story, I'll get back to the other factors in a second. Continuing on with the story, the move does follow the strategy of Governor Landry, who secured his party backing before the calendar year in which he got elected. GOP Chair Derek Babcock said Fleming is free to seek endorsement, though few have been officially granted that so far. Alfred says his timing is interesting.
Against the backdrop of Bill Cassidy facing what could be the most important vote, definitely most important confirmation vote of his political career.
That's part of it, yes. But I think bigger than that is we're on a countdown right now to seeing another remarkably viable Republican get in the race. This was a lot of the scuttlebutt from Washington Mardi Gras here, was Blake Miguez throwing his hat in the ring. Will it be Blake Miguez or Clay Higgins? If I were a betting man, and I am, I would throw my dollars, my betting dollars on Blake Miguez getting in this race. And if Blake Miguez wants to move from the state Senate up to the U.S. Senate, then, man, now you've really got to stop and think. You for the state Republican Party. Who are you throwing your support behind? We'll see it play out. It's 8 o'clock. Here comes news. Oh, we're going to get in. Moon and I are going to get into it today. No, because you remember the topic I brought up after we had Moon last week? I think I brought it up on Tuesday. If I'm Bill Cassidy, what do I give a shit what Republicans think of me anymore? Because I'm done. I'm done chasing the tail. I'm done going after your support and your, oh, do you love me yet? Oh, do you love me yet? If I'm Bill Cassidy, I'm going to say, you know what? I got a butt ton of money in the bank. I'm going to vote my heart, and I'm going to ask everyone out there to follow their heart as well. Screw your party. Oh, it's going to be a good time. I mean, my first question is going to be, if Bill Cassidy votes in favor of the nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., will he have your support for U.S. Senate? And you know Moon's going to say no. Mm-hmm. 806 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So 58 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Hour 3, Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. We got Moon Griffon coming up in our next segment. I'm fired up. I'm ready to talk to Moon. We're going to have a good one today, y'all. It's never a bad time when we cover everything under the sun with Moon, but I'm telling you, I'm a little bit, I'm pumped. I'm pumped. It's going to be a good conversation. We're going to talk education, yeah, but there's no way we don't talk about Senator Cassidy. I mean, number one, because he just can't help himself. But I think I have a question that I don't think he can answer. Moon Griffon coming up in our next segment. Also, Julie Emerson going to join us today at 8:35. We're going to get back into that education conversation with Julie right there. Right now, though, before we get you to this day in history, I got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's, your carnival headquarters, everybody. All right. Have you brought a king cake into the office yet? If not, shame on you. Fix that. They've got you covered, whether you're talking about downtown on 3rd Street or in the Nicholson Gateway Drive location, the location right there on campus across the street from Tiger Stadium. I was at the Nicholson Drive location on Saturday. I was working LSU basketball. Oof, that was painful. What wasn't painful, though, was going across to Mathern's to get myself a little patty melt for dinner. And I saw the giant display of king cakes, y'all, under the giant Mardi Gras tree. They've got all the king cakes. They've got the plain. They've got filled with whatever you want, whether you're talking about strawberry cream cheese, Bavarian cream, praline. They've got an apple. They've got you covered on that front. Oh, and they do the premium king cakes as well. So they're your home for, they're your outlet for king cakes, to be sure. And then when it comes time for your Mardi Gras ball, like let's say you were at Achilles on Saturday night. Let's say you're going to Aduna this coming Saturday night. You got to bring some food. More than 50 catering trays available at Matherns.com. Yeah, you can go sandwiches. Okay, cool. They got sandwiches on croissants. They got little po' boys. They've got your regular little finger sandwiches as well. Or, want to step it up. Fried catfish, fried chicken, chicken strips, boudin balls. They've got you covered. Just check out the menu at Matherns.com, and then once it becomes time to roll on out to the parade, downtown, Orion, Artemis, whatever, they're right there on 3rd with the back door on 4th. That back door on 4th at Main is right along the route. That's where the parade turns. On 4th, it turns up Main from there. So whatever you might have forgotten or run out of along the way, they've got you covered. Mathern's, your carnival headquarters. Time for this day in history. All right. John. Yes.
Hey, 1876.
Ooh, yeah.
Albert Spalding invests $800 to start a sporting goods company, manufacturing the first official baseball, tennis ball, basketball, golf ball, and football.
Spalding, get your foot off the boat. Oh, no, different Spalding.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Hey, 1959, the plane crash known as the Day the Music Died kills musicians Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, J.P. Richardson, also known as the Big Bopper, and the pilot near Clear Lake, Iowa. Happened today.
Yeah, did not realize that was today.
Yep.
All right.
Also, today in 1962, U.S. President John F. Kennedy bans all trade with Cuba except for food and drugs.
Oh.
That happened.
Except for food and drugs.
Except for food and drugs. I had to read that twice.
What else would we get from Cuba?
Right. I mean...
I would consider a cigar to be a digestive drug. That's how I would sell that.
And that's probably it may have been
puff on a good stogie for digestion. How about it?
Let's see. Also this day, 1978, Egyptian President Anwar al-Sadat, we'll go with that, right? And U.S. President Jimmy Carter discussed the Middle East peace process in Washington, D.C. today, 1978.
All right.
1986, Pixar Animation Studios was founded with the backing of Steve Jobs today.
Oh.
Let's see. 1993, federal trial of 4 police officers charged with civil rights violations and videotaped beating of Rodney King. begins in Los Angeles today.
Wow. Okay.
Man. 1994, President Bill Clinton lifts U.S. trade embargo against Vietnam. A lot of trading and things going on today.
Apropos, right?
Yeah. 2021, U.S. and Russia extend their New START nuclear arms control treaty for 5 years, the last remaining nuclear arms deal between the two countries.
Okay.
And in this day in 2023, the train carrying toxic chemicals, including vinyl chloride, derails in Ohio today.
Oh, man, I remember that.
Yes.
Birthdays. Oh, wait, no. I got a couple sports ones. It is Super Bowl week, so there's going to be Super Bowl stuff every day, right? Okay. On this day in 2013, Mercedes-Benz Superdome, New Orleans, Louisiana, the Baltimore Ravens survive a power outage to edge out the San Francisco 49ers 34-31. Lights went out at halftime, and the lights came back on. Jacoby Jones returns the second half kickoff, 108 yards. That was a Super Bowl record. Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers scored 17 consecutive points early on, but Baltimore just owned the second half to win the Super Bowl the last time it was in New Orleans. Now, this day in 2019, we take you to a different Mercedes-Benz stadium, this time Atlanta, Georgia, where the New England Patriots beat the Los Angeles Rams 13-3. And good for them, because the Rams did not deserve to be in that game at all, because the Rams only got there after beating the Saints on the Nolan no call. So, on them. All right, birthdays.
Birthdays today. Beau Biden today. Actor Nathan Lane.
Pepper! Sorry. The wife and I are binging Modern Family as best as a married couple can binge something. We watch 2 episodes and fall asleep. That's our binging. But yeah, he's Pepper on Modern Family.
Nice. Let's see who else we have here. Actor Warwick Davis as well today.
What did he play?
Oh man, you remember Willow?
Nope.
Remember Leprechaun?
A little bit.
Oof, creepy stuff.
The Leprechaun.
Warwick
I
Davis.
remember Mike Myers' reenactment of Leprechaun from Wayne's World more than I remember the actual Leprechaun.
Where Garth was like,
no,
stop, man.
Go away.
But yeah, he was also known, he was in Harry Potter films and Star Wars films as well. Who else you got on your end?
I have on my end Norman Rockwell, born on this day in 1894. Gertrude Stein, 1874. And gangster Pretty Boy Floyd, 1904.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to deaths?
Sure.
U.S. President Woodrow Wilson today, of course, along with Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper.
Yep. Also, John Cassavetes died on this day in 1989.
Okay. I see Al Lewis also today.
Who?
Al Lewis. He played the grandpa in The Munsters.
Oh. All right. What national days are today?
Oh, my goodness. Let's see. What do we have here? You know what? Look at this. You'll get a kick out of this. It's Elmo's birthday today as well. So
Elmo?
Yeah. So is it Elmo Day?
Whatever.
What is going on here?
Whatever. Okay. Real national days, not an Elmo Day.
National Missing Persons Day.
Okay.
I hate to bring it down.
No.
It's
That's
true.
It's not every day has to be celebratory.
Right.
Some of them could just be important.
Yes, indeed.
And that is an important one. All right, it's 8:14. Talk 107.3 FM. We're running a little bit long. Come back. We'll talk to Moon next.
Hi, Moon. Good morning. This is John. Brian? Doing well, sir. Doing well. Looking to have you on here in about a minute or so. Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Jack Besh, okay. Yeah, we talked about that in the 6 o'clock hour. So, okay. So, Jack Besh. Nice. Well, good. Yeah, I'll let him know. Appreciate it. He said, well, he's good to go with wherever you want to go, but he wants to start off with Jack Besh.
Absolutely. Sometimes I rhyme slow, sometimes I rhyme quick. Sean Kingston's birthday. Oh, man. What was that one, he had that one banger. No. Take You There. Girl, we can go to the tropics, sip pina coladas. Oh, love that song. That girl was adorable, too. Yeah. It's a banger, dude. This song is awesome. This was his biggest hit. Ah. You know I could take ya. 818 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Missed in the birthdays with Sean Kingston right there.
Yeah.
Nice rebound on it, John. Good job right there. Okay. This time every Monday we check in with Moon Griffon, who's on the hotline right now. Moon, we have so many different topics this morning. But I want to start by rewinding the clock back to Saturday. Lafayette native, former LSU Tiger Jack Besh. I mean, he showed up and showed out, increased his NFL draft stock, but more than anything else, paid tribute to his brother.
Yeah, I know the family. I talked about it on the air. I've been knowing him since we moved here. My son was in the 6th grade, was in school with him, so I got to watch the young man from 6th grade to now. And what happened was 1 month exactly on the day when his brother was killed in the tragedy and a terrorist attack in New Orleans. And, really it was a big day for them. I did text to Dad and told him how proud I was, too. But it was a big day for them because at this particular event, which is a big event, the kid where they put number 7 on everybody's helmet on both teams to honor Tiger Besh. And then for Jack to catch the winning touchdown. I mean, what's the chances of something like that happening? And they were real emotional about the whole thing because the whole stadium, everybody was watching, knew what number 7 meant to everybody. So, and then Jack wore number 7. So it was really big. It was big. He played at St. Thomas More. He was at LSU. I told, you're going to get a kick out of this. I told my son, who's really good friends with him, I said, when Coach Kelly came in, this is no cut on Kelly at all. I said, Jack was kind of a hybrid tight end for a year, under Orgeron. And I said, the problem Jack's going to have, they got some really good wide receivers. I didn't think none of them were better than Jack, but some of them had more talent, a lot more speed.
Mm-hmm.
I said, the problem Jack's going to run into is that Kelly likes big tight ends. He just always has. He's good at it. He's good with big tight ends. And I said, I don't know if Jack will end up staying with the program because if they don't play him a lot as the wide receivers, and you had Neighbors and Thomas and some of these really good players, I said he'll probably end up leaving. And he left and went to TCU. Well, he got hurt his first year a lot, but this past year, he really had a gigantic year. And he had a great week, Brian. He didn't have a great game. He had a great week. And everything ESPN was putting out was, look at his best kid. So when you top all that off and what they went through, it couldn't have happened to a better family. It just couldn't have happened to better people.
Yeah, and then when you come out of Senior Bowl, and headlines start reading, "Is Jack Besh the next Cooper Kupp?"
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to move you
Well,
up on the draft board.
I didn't read where they might draft him at. I always thought Jack would probably be a third, fourth round pick.
Mm-hmm.
But he could have moved up. One of the Giants coach said he's got a love crush on Beth.
Yep.
He said, works his butt off. If you throw a 50-50 ball, he's going to catch it. He's tough as nails. He's mentally tough. He said he's the best kid in the locker room. Everybody likes him. He has a good time with everybody. So, I don't care where he goes. I just hope he goes to a good team.
I mean, like you said, the Giants do love him. So,
but I don't want him going to the Saints. I know that's bad.
No. That is not what we need right here.
Say that, Brian.
I don't know why you'd put it in the universe, man. All right, I got a question for you. Go ahead.
I just said it's good. It's a good thing for the family who went through so much. It's just a good story, and you feel good for them. You know what I'm saying? Not for you and me, for them.
No, yes, 100%. In the post-game interview where it was all the love to his brother and to his faith as well. He was very emotional, but you could tell he needed it. Just man to man, you could see a lot of like relief and anguish, relief come in and anguish wash away.
Yeah, he didn't answer no questions. He talked about the good Lord and his brother. But I will tell you this on a private note. I sent Marty, his daddy, and I just told him, Jesus loves you guys. Y'all special. And he sent back, thank you. We need a lot of that. And you and me don't know what they're going through. We can act like we do, but we don't. And when he said that, it kind of hit home. I was really happy for the best.
100%. 100%. We got Moon Griffon with us. He's weekdays 9 to 11 right here on Talk 107.3 FM and statewide. All right, Moon, I got an unanswerable question for you.
Yes, sir. Well, I like those because I can't answer most of them anyway.
Here we go. If Senator Bill Cassidy votes in favor of the confirmation of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the HHS secretary, will he then have your support for Senate?
No, I'm not going to vote for him regardless, but that's not the point. The point is I just want him to do what's right. I think, that Kennedy has some faults with him like we all do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Bill's weighing, and I said this on the show, I don't think Bill's weighing, he's getting a ton of money from big pharma, doctors. He's got Trump on one side.
He's not on the top 10 list of senators receiving money from big pharma.
Well, the one I saw him, he's made about $600,000 so far, something like that. But he's still in his pocket, and they're the ones putting pressure on him. And we don't know what's been promised before, but I'm telling you this, big pharma, Trump's on one side, and the people of Louisiana on the other side. And I think I personally think he's trying to weigh the decision what's best for him. I do. I just think that's the decision he's going to make. I've been keeping up with my friends in Washington, and it was pretty much a no. But over the weekend, there's been some hard adjustments. So we're going to have to wait and see what Cassidy decides to do. I will say this about Cassidy, like him or not, he's going to be his own guy. He's going to do what he thinks he needs to do.
Well, that's where I was going with the question, is if voting in favor of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. does not earn him any points within the Republican Party, why would he bother to continue to try to impress Republicans?
Because I still think it's three different deals, like I told you. The citizens here, and you're going to find, especially Republicans, are not happy with it. And they're not going to all of a sudden say, okay, you forgive me, we're going to go vote for you now. And I don't think Trump's going to do that either. So here's Trump's problem. Trump needs Cassidy.
Mm-hmm.
Trump needs Cassidy between now and next year. He needs him for these 2 years because, the Republican, the Senate's so close. Even though it's 53-47, you lose 3 or 4 votes. You can't pass anything. You mentioned this last time. Without Cassidy's vote for a head test, you don't pass it. So that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the deals are being made. And remember, we got a president, and I like Trump. I like him a lot. But he wrote the thing, order the deal. And so President Trump can wheel and deal. He's going to do what's best for his thing, too, because he just got 4 years. So it's a tough look. I'm saying he's in a tough position. But I don't think the people here are going to jump up and say, okay, now we forgive you. Because I tell you, it's more than an impeachment vote. It's going on national TV. and throwing him under the bus over and over again that he's still got to deal with.
No, and if he can patch that up, and I don't know that he can, but if he could patch that up, it puts him in a better
one
light.
Other thing, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go right to the heart of it, and you right there at it. If Donald Trump comes out next year and endorses Bill Cassidy, that's when the game changes. My opinion. That's it. Without that, I don't think the game changes. But with that, I think the game would change. So he's got all this year and 5 months of next year to about 15 months, I guess, to prove to Trump that he's real again.
We're talking with Moon Griffon. Okay, keeping it on that same topic, John Fleming's already asking for the state party's endorsement right now. There's no chance the state party endorses somebody this early.
You know, when they did the governor, everybody got mad. That was a different
scenario. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. But when they did that with Landry, everybody got mad, but they saw Ed was back in twice. This is a different situation. The other thing, too, Brian, is remember, we vote different for a United States senator than we vote for governor. I go back to Barack Obama. Barack Obama cost Mary Landrieu the election. On the flip side, Barack Obama helped David Vitter win the last time he won the Senate race. It's because we vote different to send somebody to Washington. Like if Bill Edwards ran, he'd get mocked up going to Washington. He'd get beat. I don't care who the candidate was. Mm-hmm. But running for governor, people vote different. They just vote different.
Yeah, the Landry endorsement, this is going to be horrible phrasing, Moon, but the Landry endorsement was more out of fear. The Landry endorsement was more, let's circle the wagons now before we have the possibility of another John Bel Edwards.
Yeah, we had two elections that basically, in my mind, went the same way. Mm-hmm. Well, I said I ought to write a book. But Governor Bel Edwards served 2 terms, backed in both times. And he backed in because of Republican infighting. But it's a different vote when you send somebody either to help the president or go against the president. So you put Barack Obama, we send somebody to beat him. If you put Donald Trump, we send somebody to help him. So that's why it's a different election than the governor's race. So I'll say it again. If Trump comes down and literally endorses and helps Cassidy, that's the only way I see that he has a chance to go back in. That's just my opinion, and it's all it is an opinion, Ron.
We got about a minute and a half left with Moon Griffon. What else you got on your show today?
Ron, I was reading about these churches. You and me have talked about this for a while about insurance. And reading about churches and businesses just having problems, paying insurance and the trucking companies and all that. And I think it's such a big issue. We're not going to do a special session. I've had, we had Furman on, who heads up the committee, an insurance committee on the House, and we had Kurt Calvin, who heads up on the Senate. And they're talking to people. They're going all over and seeing a lot of people. But on the flip side, nothing's been done yet. And so we have no special session. I don't know how much the needle's going to be moved during this session. And every day we wait and every session we wait on, we're not getting closer. And that's starting to bother me a lot, that we're not getting closer.
Nah, I'm right there with you. I firmly believe there should be a special session on this one, because what we saw last year was when it gets opened up to the full session, it gets lost in the wash. There's not enough focus to get something done, not enough focus to even take that all-important first step, much less steps 2 through 10.
Yeah, here's the thing, Brian. When you focus like that, me and you are watching every single vote.
Yeah.
We can watch everything they do. When they got the regular session, there's stuff being done. It's hard to follow everything. So that's what I would like, because the focus would have been there. But I did run into trial lawyers, and they like everything just like it is. I'm running into one of the ones you see on TV all the time, and he loves the way it's going. I guess if it still keeps going that way and they happy, I guess we're in trouble.
Yeah, more than a little bit. He's Moon Griffon. You'll catch him a half an hour from now, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Always appreciate the time, brother.
Well, God bless, man. Thank you, bud.
You too. Absolutely. Here's news. 1.5 nautical miles is ridiculous. 1.5 nautical miles takes you to the West Bank. 1.5 nautical miles takes you to the Garden District. 1.5 nautical miles takes you to Mid-City. 1.5 nautical miles takes you to the Marigny. When I first heard 1.5 miles, I was like, that's not, who gives a bibble? But like once you get to breaking it down, whoo-wee. She should be. So I didn't book this one directly. This came through an email that was sent to me from Touchdown Strategies. I'm always hesitant because it's like, if I need to text Julie, I text Julie. Like, but I'm glad he did though, because I haven't talked about the report card enough. That's on me. Also, I saw her at Washington Mardi Gras and didn't get a chance to talk to her.
Oh man.
That.
I'm sure it's pretty fast paced over there. Huh?
It was, yeah. But yeah, when we went to the Waldorf on Thursday night, I saw her there. Yeah. Didn't get a chance to talk to her though. God, Washington Mardi Gras happened fast this year. They just take turns with their voice. Like, it's too jumbled on that promo.
Yeah, bouncing back and forth.
I don't know who's who. All right, let's get a look at your forecast today. The fog has burned off. The sun's going to peek its way out a little bit later on this morning. Partly sunny today. High supposed to get up to 80. No real chance of rain throughout the day today. Overnight low gets down to 65. That fog will be right back tomorrow morning with another high near 80. And an overnight low of 63. We'll get up to 81 on Wednesday, 83 on Thursday. Look for more fog on Friday morning as we're going to be in the 80s all the way until next week. Now, looking ahead to next week, it looks like we're going to have cold and then rain. Kind of like we did before the freeze, but not nearly to that extent. Sunday's high is 79. Monday's high is 64. And then we'll have rain on Monday night into Tuesday. No real shot at rain before that. Right now, we are clearing up 61 in downtown Baton Rouge. Eight 38 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Not nearly done with the Monday show. We got to dive back into our Nations Report Card. Louisiana showing remarkable progress, not just in, like we talked last hour with Mary Beth from La B, not just in closing the gap or the biggest percentage point on this obscure category. The overall numbers are good. Joining us now to talk about this, State Representative Julie Emerson. Julie, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, Brian, I'm good. I was actually listening to the previous segment. You know, you had my one of my favorite constituents on, Moon Griffon.
Good old junk mail Julie on with us right now. Oh man, right. So I have Moon on every Monday, and we do our level best to fire each other up and spark some conversation. The next year's Senate race is going to be a huge one, an absolutely huge one. So.
Absolutely.
Yep, and you're going to have someone from down your way. I'm probably going to throw his name in the ring pretty soon too, which is going to make it that much more fire. I can't wait.
Well, you know, Acadiana always produces really great candidates for things. So.
Yep. All right, let's talk educational. Actually, before we talk education, I did see you up at Washington Mardi Gras, but we never got the chance to interact. We never got the chance to talk. Saw you very briefly on Thursday. This year's Washington Mardi Gras, what were your takeaways?
Well, I was up there for the inauguration, and I had planned to stay a little bit longer, but I ended up kind of leaving early. You know, had just been there for a long time, needed to get home, so I really didn't get to do a lot of DC Mardi Gras this year, unfortunately.
All right, well, it was everybody had a story on how to get up there. I'm guessing if you left early, you had troubles getting a flight back home.
Yeah, so that was kind of part of it. I mean, I flew up early that Friday before the inauguration, and of course you get up there and all the plans change and they move the inauguration, and it just kind of descended into a little bit of chaos there. But it was kind of interesting that Tuesday and Wednesday after the inauguration was over and you were waiting on Louisiana people to get up there for DC Mardi Gras, it was just very quiet. There wasn't a lot going on because nobody could get up there.
Exactly. We're all sitting there with 6+ inches of snow in the yard. All right, well, let's bring it back around to business here. Nation's report card comes out. Louisiana ranked 32nd overall. I know we can highlight different individual statistics where we moved up, but am I wrong in not being at least a little bit happy that we're seeing number 32? Like, we're normally 49 and 50. Seeing us up to 32 is a big deal.
I mean, look, I made a little post over the weekend because I was getting frustrated. You know, Governor Landry posted the report card, and obviously he was very excited about it. And look, I mean, I have to speak very positively of the governor because he wasn't running around taking credit. He was just really, really excited about the improvement. And look, I mean, this is natural with politics and social media, but I saw so many comments from people saying, wow, I can't believe you're bragging about being below average and 32nd and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, guys, for as long as I've been in the legislature, we have been, you know, kind of having this, I guess, a little bit of like a comical war with Mississippi of, you know, being the bottom feeders. And I mean, it was sad. It was so sad. All you could do was laugh a little bit because otherwise you'd cry, you know, and we would battle back and forth for 49th, 50th. At one time, we were 51st because the District of Columbia is considered in the calculations as well. And so, you know, I mean, it was really, really bad time. So getting really, really close to breaking into the 20s, I mean, look, I'm not bragging about being 32nd, but I am pleased with the improvement because it's really difficult to go from worst to first overnight. You know, I mean, going from 49th, 50th to 32nd is a huge climb. Frankly, a bigger climb than I even thought we could do in a short time period.
No, absolutely. Okay, so everything's a sports reference with me, right? So moving up to 32nd, moving up to 32nd is like making a bowl game. In '95, when DiNardo brought back the Magic at LSU and we made the Independence Bowl, everybody was happy about the Independence Bowl, even though it was just the Independence Bowl. But moving on from there, you take what you get, you're happy, but you're not satisfied, and you keep building.
I mean, look, I think a really great analogy, too, there is, you know, Jaden Daniels in Washington. I mean, obviously the ultimate goal is to always win a Super Bowl, but those guys went from bottom feeders to making the NFC Championship. I mean, that's a hell of a rise.
Yes, another great comparison. And being happy doesn't mean you're satisfied.
That's right.
I think those two things can both be true at the same time. We can be, you know, we can celebrate 32nd and still want more.
Yeah,
100%. Totally agree. And look, when you look at some of those numbers, especially with reading, we unfortunately, even in 2025 now, we still have a bit of a literacy issue in our state, and we want to continue to fix that. So I think that number jumped to like 16th, which is way above average in the growth in fourth grade reading. So, I mean, that's incredible.
Yes, absolutely it is. And when you see a number like 16th, you know that if you stay the course on that, your overall number is going to rise because you're not going to drop back down again. You're building a foundation, and you're building upon that foundation. Let's talk a little bit, Julie. We got State Representative Julie Emerson with us. Let's talk a little bit about some of the work that went into building that foundation. We know about the Steve Carter Literacy Initiative and how it grew from there. We know about the recent emphasis on math as well. But legislatively, what were some of the key points that you thought were the building blocks here?
Well, look, I mean, I just wanted to go back for a second. I'll talk about a couple other things, but it sounds like probably with Mary Beth, you discussed the Steve Carter program, and hey, what a great way to honor Steve Carter's legacy. He was always very, very interested and former chairman of the House Education Committee. So I'm really glad that we were able to honor him in that way. But I'll just tell you, just practical experience. I have a cousin who's an educator in North Louisiana, and she actually told me, just kind of unprompted, I mean, she and I discuss education policy every now and then, but, obviously most of the time we're just hanging out and being cousins and friends. But she said, man, I just want to tell you guys that Steve Carter literacy program that you did was like the single greatest thing that you guys have done ever since I've been teaching. It's good for the teachers, it's good for the students, it's good for the parents. And so when you find something like that works for everybody, the teachers are able to invest in the students and really get the ones that are almost there over the hump. They just need maybe a little bit extra attention. It gives teachers an opportunity to do some tutoring and make a little bit of extra money after school while they're investing in those students. And it helps the parents because, if they're working and the student stays after school to receive that extra tutoring, it works for them as well. So, look, I think just kind of hearing that feedback from somebody that's on the ground who's actually doing it, clearly you can see the rise in the literacy numbers and the reading. So I'm excited that we've been able to add numeracy to that. I think over the years we've thrown a lot of money at different things that, people say, oh, we just had more money for this or that or whatever. But this is clearly something that's working. I'm excited that we've been able to fund it year after year and keep that program going. So that's awesome. And look, I don't think that, there's been a lot of conversation, obviously, with the ESA program and then formerly the vouchers and school choice. But look, I think that while most people wouldn't jump to the conclusion that, taking kids out of public schools and putting them in different schools, how does that help the rankings and stuff? But look, I think the point and the driving force for doing some of these school choice initiatives is to better educate our kids. And so if you're taking a student that for whatever reason is not doing well in the school environment that they're in, and it may not be because that school has a low ranking. It just may be the environment that individual student is in.
Right.
And you take them and you're able to put them in an environment where they can be more successful. I think that creates for success all around.
Oh, 100% agree. Whether you're talking about the environment itself or the spark inside the child that says, hey, someone's paying attention to me and thinks that I can do this, maybe I should step up and start doing it, or maybe the buy-in from the parent as well. All you're doing is you're mixing up the equation a little bit to try and get a better result.
Yeah. And look, I'll give Cade Brumley a lot of credit. I mean, I think he is a guy who I think he's an innovator, and he's always willing to listen to new ideas and ways that we can improve our education. But I think he's also a guy who has that real world experience of, being in the classroom, being in the school system, on the local level. And so I think that he's able to listen to both sides and really come up with constructive ways to move Louisiana education forward. And you're obviously seeing the fruits of that labor here.
So how do we double down on it? What's next?
Well, look, I think that we have to
Like I referenced before, I'm excited about the Gator Scholarship Program. I'm excited about kids parents having the opportunity to choose what's best for their child and put them in an environment to succeed. And look, I think obviously we need to keep supporting our public school system, reward them for a job well done. But look, kind of as we referenced before, we're extremely excited about the improvements and jumping up to 32nd, but we can't get so wrapped up in, oh man, it's so exciting, we improved, and like we're almost in the 20s now. We just have to keep pushing forward and moving forward with it. I think we need to double down on the Steve Carter program. I'm excited to see in the next round of rankings, we just started the numeracy program. Mm-hmm. And so even though we've definitely improved in math, I think that you're going to continue to see improvements in math. And look, to kind of go back to that, I think any time that you're able to create an environment where a teacher, and teachers will tell you this too, but where a teacher can pour into 2 or 3 students at a time and creating environments where you have a smaller group and not always a huge classroom size, that's why I think that program works so well. It's 2 or 3 students with the teacher having intensive study, intensive tutoring, and I think that environment is really key to helping our individual students succeed.
I have joked repeatedly, and I'm only half joking, that I'm not expecting the returns to be as great on the math side, just because the reinforcement on reading at home can be a lot easier than asking parents to do math with their kids. So I think we're all going to be a little more patient on that end.
Yeah, and look, I mean, and that's fair. I do think that, like I said, adding the numeracy part to the after-school tutoring with Steve Carter, I think is going to be really helpful. But look, I'm glad you said that, because parents taking an active role in their kids' lives and their kids' schooling is incredibly important. And I do think, in a way, creating these school choice initiatives, it does give parents options. It may make them pay attention to things in a different way than they have before, because they really do have more options. I mean, it's no longer just a rubber stamp of like, hey, this is the school that you're zoned for, so go to it. Right. Now they can do a little bit more research and looking at different schools and seeing what's best for their child. So, look, I think that the direction that we're going in education is really good, because, look, it's been difficult in the legislature for several years trying to push for some of these initiatives. Mm-hmm. But I think ultimately, we're not trying to punish any group or any people or, have negative effects in our public school system whatsoever. It's all about, hey, look, for a long time we've been at the bottom, and we want to figure out a way to individually help our kids and get them better education. And so I think you're finally seeing that, and it really is just a time to be excited in Louisiana.
See, and that just sparked a whole other conversation, but we're just straight up out of time. She is state representative. No,
I'm sorry.
No. It's why I love having you on, because the conversation is always so good. But the conversation from there needs to go to, how do we make sure that everybody understands we're not assessing blame, we're just trying to change results. And that like I said,
absolutely
takes us down a whole other path, but we're out of time. Julie, State Representative Julie Emerson, we always appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. We are super long for a break. We'll come back and close it out with the outside end next. Well, she's the featured today. Okay, here's your headline. Being happy with 32nd does not mean being satisfied with 32nd. How about that? Huh? A text from a friend when we were doing the Spalding thing there you talking about the Spalding, like the basketballs and all that, and I did Judge Smales from Caddyshack. Just got cry laugh emoji over and over and over again. Spalding, get your foot off the boat. You'll get nothing and like it. I'll give you asthma.
I've seen Caddyshack maybe 2 or 3 times, and I cannot give you a quote from Caddyshack. I don't know how the heck It's retained.
I don't know. It's worked at Blockbuster.
I know, but like even the movies I've seen, I'm like, yeah, I've seen it, but I can't give you a quote.
Spalding, you're playing golf today. No, I'm not, Grandpa. I'm playing tennis. What about my asthma? I'll give you asthma. That's such a good movie. Danny?
Yeah, but all those movies. I mean, you got the Caddyshack, the Police Academy movies, like all those, just that type of comedy.
Yeah.
You just
Well,
don't see it a lot.
if my brain retained physics, I'd be a lot richer.
Right. I can give you Crocodile Dundee 2 quotes.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, who remembers that?
It's Colin Quinn. I'm in. What do we? Yes.
What?
Colin Quinn when Ken Ober. Rest in peace.
Like,
along with Colin.
Yeah.
His sister was Martha Quinn.
I didn't realize they were related.
Yeah, their dad started MTV. That's why they got the job.
No shit.
Oh.
Okay.
Fascinating.
I didn't even know that. Colin Quinn had he had a bit part in Crocodile Dundee 2. Yeah. Yes.
Right.
So was 3. Anyway.
There were 3.
Look, and Paul Hogan wasn't even in 3. When Paul Hogan says, I'll pass, mate, you know you probably shouldn't greenlight that movie. But there's a scene in 2 where Sue is kidnapped by these drug lords who have this mansion in New York, and they storm the mansion to get her out. And, like, the way the scene plays out, they end up overtaking it with, like, all these people converge, and, like, half the people have no idea why they're going to be there, why they're there. And Colin Quinn has this line. He's, like, walking in a tuxedo with the bow tie untied. He's walking in. He goes, I'm in. What are we doing? So I used that in reference to January 6th. Like, not everybody involved in January 6th knew what they were doing on January 6th, like Colin Quinn and Crocodile Dundee 2. And I'm like, this is a completely wasted segment because nobody understands this reference. I know. Obscure dots. Deep cut, as it were. How's your Monday? I haven't got an email. So it's at 10, though? Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that part. Shit. All right. Hey, have fun.
I'm doing a special on Paul Hogan stories tonight, actually. If you want to call in.
I'm in.
Oh, that'd be funny.
Hating your way to a Grammy. How about it? Kendrick Lamar, best song, best record, whatever. All because he hates Drake.
Right.
We shouldn't reward hate on any level. We're rewarding hate.
Would there ever even be a rap category without hate, though?
Oh, are you kidding me?
Come on.
Oh, man. There's a few tracks that Tupac comes to mind. That somehow,
at least with Digital Underground, right? I mean,
somehow in 2025, I still know the words to, and they won't be repeated on air because, you know, the FCC is still a thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Elon, can you get over to the FCC real quick?
Right.
The next line as the end the click you claiming. That's the next line. We're not done just yet, y'all. Moon Griffon coming your way after news at the top of the hour. Hey, before we get out of here, got to remind you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. FlyBTR.com is the website. Now's the time to start planning your vacation. Now is the time. In fact, last week was National Plan Your Vacation Day, one of the days last week. So if you are traveling, before you book your plane, go ahead and take a look at FlyBTR.com and compare and contrast the amount of, look, when you talk about driving down to New Orleans and having to pay for the parking down there, that added amount of time, the hour down there and the hour back, oftentimes supersedes what kind of layover you would have along the way. The amount of parking prices down there would supersede anything on ticket price-wise down here. The overall value of flying BTR is amazing. And on top of that, On top of that, the value of having a top-notch, wonderful airport in our own backyard is a value in and of itself. So as you're booking your family vacation for this upcoming summer, check out flybtr.com. All right, time for the Outside In. Starting off in Iberville Parish, deputies with the sheriff's office arrested a man from South Carolina where he's wanted for murder. Deputies arrested 40-year-old Clint Crosby in Iberville Parish Friday evening. He's accused of shooting a man after an argument in Colleton County, South Carolina, on Thursday. So he made good time. Heading over to Tangipahoa Parish, 2 men were injured in a double shooting in the Kentwood area Saturday morning. According to the sheriff's office, deputies said they responded to 2 separate calls around 1:30 a.m., one of a man being shot in the leg while sitting in his car outside a bar in the 78,000 block of Highway 51. Another call of a man being shot in an address on Potts Road, which was near the same area. Closing out in Livingston Parish, a man was arrested for 5 counts of sexual battery due to allegations of sexual abuse of juveniles, according to the sheriff's office there. Deputies said they began the investigation into 45-year-old Todd Shockley back on January 14th. These investigations are centered around sexual abuse of juveniles over the last year and a half. Shockley's being held without bond. That is it for us. Moon Griffon's up next. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great Monday. All right, Facebook, toodaloo. I'm out. We'll see y'all tomorrow.